All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Health Rebellion Radio. I'm Dr. Ron. I am accompanied by Dr. Jerry Smith and Dr. Will Wong. Welcome. And the show here refuses to bow to the broken sick care system. We're here to expose the lies, reveal the suppressed truths, and empower you to reclaim your health, your freedom, and your future. So, if you're tired of being managed instead of healed, if you're ready to break free from the system that profits from your illness, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you've found your tribe. You have found your movement. So, welcome to the show today, the last one of this 2025 season. So, those of you who have followed me on my Podbean podcast know that I have had two great podcasts on neuropathy, episode 635 and episode 636, that you can find on podbean.com. Dr. Ron, unfiltered, uncensored. And when I talked about what is commonly known about neuropathy, that it is basically something the allopaths say they're going to manage, but never really get to the root causes or offer anything different because they have nothing else in their quivers. So today we're going to break free from the gamma-pectin, the Lyrica, the multi-billion-dollar drugs. They're like the statins. They don't cure anything. They just maybe control, maybe get you addicted. And we're going to explore a few options for you. Because, in my opinion, neuropathy is one of the biggest failures of modern medicine. Why do I say that? Because there's no blockbuster drug out there that can regenerate nerves, so you're told. You're told that it's progressive, it's incurable, it's age-related. That's convenient. It's profitable, but completely false. So we're going to get into that. And I live in a continuing care community with a lot of elderly people, and they're going to the doctors 2 and 3 times a week to be managed. Not one of them has gotten any relief that lasts, because the sick care system depends on management of the symptoms, not on repair. And like I say, gabapentin is a billion with a B dollar drug. It quiets the brain but doesn't heal the nerves. But you know what then no one talks about that I have conversations with? Their doctors don't talk about mitochondrial decline, microvascular damage, electrical coherence, because there's no patent for sunlight, grounding, or red light. And we have to flip that around today, because neuropathy is an energy crisis masquerading as a nerve disease. And the future to healing this is in light, magnetism, frequency, voltage, and coherence. This is the real frontier. This is where you're going to get not only relief, but possible cures. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jerry Smith, who has done some research on this, and then I'll come back, and then we'll have our cleanup batter, Dr. Will Wong, come in with a final say. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I think if we make neuropathy a new dance, we'll get a lot more press on the topic. Doing the neuropathy. Anyway, thank you so much. The key in the whole equation, there's a whole history of suppression, but they just don't call it suppression. They call it's pseudoscience. It's unfounded. It's quackery. They character assassinate the poor pioneer. They downplay the research. Well, when they prevent, for example, you had William F. Koch back in the early 1900s. He discovered, he was a brilliant guy. He was the guy that discovered when they did thyroidectomies that people were dying from tetany, because he discovered that there was a parathyroid glands in there, and the idiots didn't realize it. And he's the one that discovered. So he's not a backroom charlatan. So he discovered that the brain produces a chemical called glyoxylide, and he would make a homeopathic dose of that. I mean, like 1 to a trillion dilution, and he was injecting 1 or 2 cc's in patients on their deathbeds in the hospital with cancer, and a week later they were walking out cured. So they wanted to steal his formula from him, and of course he knew what their agenda was. They were going to charge $1 gazillion for the treatment, and he refused. So they hauled him into court 2 times on labeling charges. Plus, they contacted all the medical labs not to accept his blood samples for evaluation for documentation. So, they want to make the public believe that this technology is bogus. He finally fled to Rio de Janeiro because he feared for his life. So this is the nonsense that's going on. Then you have a Rife generator from back in the 30s. Raymond Royal Rife was curing all kinds of cancer and medical diseases. In 1934 and 1935, you had a controlled study. 16 terminal ill cancer patients. In 130 days, they cured every one. Well, it's amazing that there were 11 research centers around the United States that mysteriously burned down within a year. I mean, what the hell the odds are that? Come on. So this is what they call suppression. It's destroy the opposition. They don't want their revenue stream disrupted. Then you had the multi-wave oscillator where you had, Georges Lahosky worked with Tesla back in the 30s. He developed this frequency technology. During World War II, it was in a lot of hospitals in Europe, getting phenomenal results. At the end of the war, they all disappeared, these units. Miraculously. Anything that's good, why should it disappear? Because they don't want people to get well. It's just despicable. Then you have the Laetrile issue. Again, it works, but they don't want the people to have availability. Then you had the Hoxsey therapy back in the 20s and 30s, and they crucified the poor guy. They threw him in jail. His patients had a vigil, I think it was in Texas, if I'm not mistaken, around the jailhouse to demand that his, release. All kinds of testimonials. They don't care about results. They just want to get rid of the opposition. Same thing with the guy in Texas now. It was a Berzinski. He discovered neoplastins were in the urine of cancer patients. Each type of cancer patient produced a specific type of neoplastin. And he was curing brain cancer in children. And they came down on him and they forced him to say, well, the only way you can do it is you have to combine radiation to the brain with your neoplastin therapy. He says, you're going to kill the kids. I mean, this is the nonsense that's going on that the average person is just not aware of. Another big thing is DMSO. Okay, it's from wood pulp. It's totally safe. They used it on horses that had severe arthritic joints. Phenomenal results, and then humans start using it. And there's books written on it, documentation. It's good for cancer, inflammation. It's good against viruses, bacteria. But the FDA only gives approval for urinary, problems.
Bladder cancer.
It's ridiculous. So, they say there's no evidence. There's plenty of evidence. They just don't want to admit to it. So that's my little 2 cents worth.
Okay, so a lot of these modalities might be helpful for neuropathy, Dr. Smith?
Well, the Rife, I mean, what, and I do, what does medicine have for shingles? Nothing. Steroids, right? So
Correct.
There's frequencies, and I've treated shingles patients. You can explode the shingles virus with the frequencies. Well, it don't get any more painful than, neuropathy due to herpes zoster. It is burning pain. And I had one woman that had it for 6 months and 3 days, the shingles were gone.
Okay, so our listeners might want to seek out a practitioner that uses a Rife machine. And I would also throw in there that pulsed electric magnetic fields, it's called PEMF. And, these therapies have been used by NASA. They have been used in Eastern Europe. To put that together with with a fancy word, uh, photobiomodulation. It's red light therapy. 6,000 papers I found on it. I didn't find and read them all. I just looked it up. 6,000 papers out there.
Be careful.
And you know what? The question is, why are these therapies good enough for our astronauts, for our elite athletes, our military, but they're not offered to people every day?
Because
That is my question.
NASA treatment doesn't drain funds from big pharma. That's why.
So look, ladies and gentlemen, my two cents on this is if you want to get the cells charged up and healing, you need photobiomodulation, you need PEMF, you need grounding. Simple thing is taking your shoes off and walk on the ground. If you live here in Florida like I do, I'm at the beach as much as possible in my bare feet. And sunlight, I've talked about it, and everybody is talking about it, that if avoiding sunlight has the mortality and the morbidity of smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Sunlight has been demonized for no reason, and we're not going to talk about it today, but we have talked about the adulterated seed oils that really are the cause. And you need to feed your cells. Your cells aren't going to heal unless they get the right nutrients, the right oxygen, get some circulation, and the microcurrent devices that can be used. And I know my son, a chiropractor, has them in his office. They get mobilization of the nerve, but no one's being treated. They're not being taught this. And you can't drug your way out of a problem, and that, in my estimation, is an energy problem. You can't get enough epidural shots and Novocaine shots, and you can't numb your way back to health. You can't trust a system that profits more when you stay sick.
Dr. Ron, I disagree with you. Morphine, you can drug yourself out of existence.
Yeah, and then you can get free detox treatment.
Yeah, well, one quickie. People don't look at pH. When you're too acidic, like 6.5 and below, your pain threshold is very low. So I don't give a damn what kind of treatment doing, microcurrents, PMFs, whatever, right? If you're acidic, you're still going to have pain problem. If you got a low thyroid problem, the metabolic waste build up in the tissue, and it's going to, most of the chronic pain patients I see have low thyroids, and it's not being addressed because it didn't show up in their blood test.
So what's your advice?
My advice is you got to find a doctor that's open-minded, that is, looks at multifactorial therapies and looks at the whole body and not just treat the symptom.
Yeah, and my addition to that would go to someone that can restore your cell balance, especially the mitochondria, which are probably the basis of most metabolic diseases. And if you don't address the mitochondrial problem and the ATP production, you're not going to get any place, and you're going to be chronically tired. And our good friend Dr. Wang has one of the nutrients that talk about with this problem called neuropathy. And I'm going to turn it over to him now and see if he mentions his own product. Hey, Will.
I've had an hour to stop, Bill.
I'm sorry?
I give you an hour to stop.
Thank you. We've had experience with treating diabetic neuropathy since 2005. It just happened coincidentally that a customer who was taking systemic enzymes was a raging type 1 diabetic, and he had severe neuropathy. He was going to lose his toes, and eventually he was going to lose his foot. And he just started on the systemic enzymes as a lark. Within a month, the neuropathy was gone. His A1C came down to less than 6, which meant he wasn't diabetic anymore. He was like 5 point something. And doctors couldn't believe it. He had been in a wheelchair, and then after a while, he started walking again. Well, what happened is that neuropathy was being caused by something that Dr. Jerry spoke of, Dr. Ron spoke of, a lack of energy. What was happening is that the high sugar concentration in his blood was causing a fibrosis, a scar tissue growth that was causing micro plugs in his microcirculation. His venules and his capillaries were being clogged up, and the tissue wasn't getting enough oxygenated blood. So the enzymes came in and ate away all of the scar tissue. All of a sudden, whoosh, the limb turned pink because it was receiving blood. The ischemia was gone. For those who don't know what ischemia is, when you were a kid and you put rubber bands around your wrist, a whole bunch of them, and your hand went numb, that's ischemia. But then you tried moving your hand, and the more you tried moving your hand, the more your hand ached. There was this deep, profound pain. That's ischemia. The pain you have in your heart for 3 days after a heart attack is lack of blood supply. That's ischemia. So you relieve ischemia by restoring blood supply, which brings in oxygen and glycogen, things that the cells can breathe. Okay? So when we eat away at the scar tissue with the systemic enzymes and help restore the circulation, then we did one other thing. Dr. Abram Burr, back in the 1990s, Dr. Burr was probably the world's leading homeopath, discovered that type 1 diabetic patients were all zinc deficient. And zinc is absolutely necessary for making insulin. So between the enzymes going in and eating away at the scar tissue in the microcirculation, then going into the pancreas and eating away, both reducing the inflammation there and eating away at the scar tissue that was blocking the beta cells, plus the zinc being restored so that the body could make insulin, we had a number of patients who more than almost fully recovered from type 1 diabetes, and a number of customers who absolutely did recover from type 1 diabetes. And as long as they did the systemic enzymes and the zinc, they were free. If they stopped thinking that they were cured, 6 months later, it would all come back because the blood sugar was still high, and that was still building the inflammation, which built the scar tissue. So it would all just return. But as long as they were on the enzymes and the zinc, their results were maintained. And now going back to electronic therapy, in the 80s and 90s, before I ever saw a systemic enzyme, I was known as one of the most experienced microcurrent therapists in the world. But that and 25 cents could have gotten me a cup of coffee back then.
Maybe.
I had so much experience that folks would bring me cases to dabble with. Docs would send me patients just to see if I could do something with them. And the microcurrent really helped the neuropathy patients, especially the frequencies of 0.5, 10, and then if they were in a lot of pain, 320. And the instrument that I used is not widely available now. It was an electroacuoscope, a Series 80 electroacuoscope. I used the heck out of the thing. I've still got one. The batteries are dead in it. And there's only one place that I can find that can put the batteries back. And that it's used in veterinary medicine. It's kind of been phased out in human medicine. Chattanooga now has a few microcurrent units, and some other folks do. Don't know if they work as well as the Acuscope, but the Acuscope was near miraculous for treating patients if you knew how to configure it.
Yeah, Bill, are you familiar with Tom Wing? He was a chiropractor.
Oh gosh, yes, the Menzomatic machine. Yes, Dr. Thomas Wing.
I studied with Jack Scott back in the 80s out in San Francisco, and I bought the unit, the Myomatic. I still got it, and it works.
Yes, it did, didn't it? Didn't it? Dr. Wing was an absolute genius.
Absolutely.
Absolute genius. He had degrees in naturopathy, chiropractic. He was a professional engineer, an electronic engineer. I think he had 41 patents to his name.
Yeah.
The guy was an absolute, just pure genius. And I wonder if his instruments are still being made.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah,
I don't
they,
think so,
they
no.
jumped ship, but I have the original unit, and let me tell you, I use it periodically on patients. It, like you said, microcurrents whispers to the body with the
Yes.
same level of energy that the body uses to heal. TENS unit over a period of time actually depletes the ATP and makes the pain worse.
Right. So look, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. You're learning something today. Please write it down. Your neuropathy is not just a nerve problem, it's an energy crisis, and you don't have to quote unquote live with it. And you don't have, maybe you can get off of all those drugs that are being offered to you by these pain managers, not pain curers. I just love when they say, I'm going to a pain management physician. I mean, I say, well, I guess he has you signed up on the yearly plan just to manage your pain. Jeez.
Bragging rights, man. It's bragging rights.
So, you know, but these are modalities. I don't think people are even offered. They're not offered. I know for a fact they're not offered red light therapy, which is just so easy to do. The microcurrent.
Red light
Well, there are
therapy.
some units, right? Go ahead, Dr. Wong.
Red light therapy.
Here you go. Well, no wonder your hair is looking thicker.
You should put that under the tinfoil hat and it'll magnify the effect.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's what you need. You don't need a multi-$1,000 device. You just need the right wavelength, around 630 to 680 nanometers. There's plus or minus 20% in LEDs anyway. So, you know, get in that range. But that's what we want to offer on the Real Health Rebellion Radio. Give you options. You know, I get tongue tied because these things are out there and being used in the alternative world, but the alternative is being suppressed. And so here you go. So PEMF, photobiomodulation, microcurrents, Rife machines, if your doctor's using them, using energy frequencies to heal you, because you got to get your cells charged up. You got to feed them, and those enzymes do a great job in getting circulation down to the micro level.
Well, one of the things I strongly recommend, I wrote a book in 2019 called Remove the Splinters and Watch the Body Heal. It alerts people to the potential splinters or initiators that your conventional doctor will never, ever connect the dots. I mean, if you got mercury fillings in your mouth and it's leaking out 24/7, mercury migrates along the nerve pathways and destroys the myelin. You know, who the hell's going to, you know, connect the dots on that type of pain? It's, you know what I mean? There's so many potential causes, and they're not, all they're saying is, you know, suppress the pain. That's not where it's at.
Or they're mainly saying, like, you know, a lot of neuropathy patients have diabetes. Get your A1C down, but they're not really doing anything proactive for the patient. Or you get your A1C down, but how do you regenerate that nerve? How do you get it get circulation to that nerve? How do you relieve this patient's symptoms? So you know, I totally believe in finding the splinter, but during that splinter investigation, you have to make the person feel better. And there's modalities out there.
Well, also there's remedies called protomorphogens that Royal Lee discovered back in the 30s, where it provides a genetic blueprint to heal the nerves. I mean, you know, again, your average physician is not only 20 years behind the medical research, he's almost totally ignorant of the nutritional components of healing, because they'll take his license away if he goes off the reservation.
Yeah.
And everybody, we're you know, I hope you're listening or watching us on YouTube. We're shaking our head because 92% of allopathic physicians are employed, ladies and gentlemen, and they are beholden to their employer. 12 minutes they're allowed with you. I just had a urologist associate of mine just quit because he was told he's spending too much time with his patients and he's not ordering enough biopsies. Now, I mean, that's what you're dealing with when you walk into an allopathics office. So you have to know that. But if you know it, knowledge is power, and you can change that. So
The days of the doc around the corner who did not work for a office management firm, who was not controlled by any particular insurance group, those days were glorious. You walked in, the doc saw you, diagnosed you for as long as he had to, used the fluoroscope, did whatever else.
yeah,
And you walked out with a script. You paid him $7 to $14 for the visit. That was it. Now everyone's gotten involved. The doc around the corner doesn't exist anymore. Every doc, as you say, works for someone, and these practice management firms have so screwed up medicine that I would love to take them all, put them up against a wall, and shoot them.
yep. I think those of us who have experienced that paradigm, the old-fashioned one. I hate to talk about the past because it is gone. Know exactly what you mean, Dr. Will. The new guys. I have a friend that's on the admission committee of a medical school. They had trouble finding a 3.5.
That's the number of hamburgers that McDonald's sells a day, 3.5 million.
Well, that's where all the intelligent people are working. They don't want to work in medicine. A friend of mine had a plumber come fix his kitchen sink, and he charged him $350. And he said, well, my doctor don't charge that much. He says, I know. I used to be one.
Yeah. And you don't even take Medicare either.
Well, look, we want to open the door to people that don't have an idea that there is more to just drugs and nerve blocks. There is a healing paradigm out there. You have to look for it. On a close, Dr. Jerry and Dr. Will, this is a time of the year when I just can't believe how the establishment is pushing flu shots. But I'd like all of us to give our 2 cents about what we think is the reason why flu is seasonal. Now, I'll start it off by saying I think it's, we get too involved in the commercialization of the holiday. We run ourselves into the ground. We don't stay hydrated, and we eat too much sugar. Jerry, what do you think?
100%. You're right on target. I wrote numerous articles about why flu season occurs between Halloween and New Year's because of the sugar consumption. A 4-ounce candy bar will lower your calcium level for 6 days. All the food manufacturers put calcium chloride in their containers to control the viruses, bacteria, fungi, and so forth. Your body's no damn different. You load up on sugar, your immune system goes low, and the opportunistic organisms that are already there manifest. It's a no-brainer.
Well,
the U.S. Army admitted in federal court in Chicago in 1986 that it was the cause of the Asian and the Hong Kong flus. Came the fall, they would go into the subsystems in New York, Chicago, various other places, and break vials open of their little viruses to do epidemiological studies.
Wow.
And if you look at especially the Hong Kong flu, if it wasn't for the fact that we had antibiotics available that could kill the bacterial pneumonia that the viral flu caused, the Hong Kong flu would have been more deadly than the Spanish flu. More people would have died because it was much more virulent. It caused much more pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, than the Spanish flu did. But thank God we had antibiotics and they could kill the pneumonia then. But we have to ponder. Let's go back to the days before who was that rich guy who owned Standard Oil?
Rockefeller.
Before the Rockefeller Institute started singing around with sending bacteria here and there to be tested, for example, against meningitis patients in Fort Riley, Kansas in 1917, they sent a bunch of different viruses that they said would go against and cure the meningitis. It didn't, but it was likely the cause of what mutated into the Spanish flu later, a year later. So we have to go back to the time of all that. Let's say before the First World War. Were there seasonal flus every fall and winter? Were there seasonal colds every fall and winter? Is there anything in the medical literature that tells us that these things happened before people started monkeying around with the viruses, or purposely, as the U.S. Army did, setting them loose into the population to do their epidemiological studies?
Well, it's interesting. At the time of the Spanish flu is when radio started to be broadcast. And again, EMFs into society are going to cause systemic inflammation and set you up for any medical problem.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, slow down, enjoy your family, enjoy some good food, get some sunlight. Don't pig out on all the sweets. I mean, it is a holiday time, and I understand we all would like a little piece of cake or chocolate, but don't pig out on it. Stay hydrated. Stay out of crowds if you can. Stay with your family. Enjoy your family and friends. This is what, in my opinion, that's what my holidays are about.
And just remember what Joey Bishop always said around the holidays. Make sure if you're drinking and driving, turn your radio up loud so you don't hear the crash.
So let's just recap here. You're listening to the Real Health Rebellion Radio. Dr. Will Wong, Dr. Jerry Smith, Dr. Ron Repasy. We are new to this. We are rebels. We want to bring you information you do not get from your normal podcaster. We want to be the Joe Rogan over here.
I'm not shaving my head. I'm sorry.
Well, with Will using a red light on his head, it ain't going to happen. So look, spread the word if you like what you hear. We all have our own podcast. Dr. Wong has his on Podbean. Mine's on Podbean. Dr. Smith has his own at Dr. Smith Live. And if you have time and you know anything of a site called Substack, I have a Substack page right now. It is free. It won't be that way forever, but you can go to Substack, look up Dr. Ron or Doc Ron, and subscribe. And I'll be putting out 2 or 3 posts a week. Hopefully they're of interest and you'll spread them. Any other advertising from Jerry or Will?
Yeah, we have a site called ghsdoc.live. All the programs like this one and all my podcasts and interviews are free and they're all archived. You can go also to icnr.com. I got over 200 case studies, every pretty imaginable medical problem, and then free articles. The name of the game is the more educated you become, the more of an informed consent you can make. When you're, kept in the dark, you're at the mercy of what the doctor tells you.
And Dr. Wong, go ahead. I know you have the Wongisms and so forth. Go ahead.
I invite folks to come see our products website, drwongsessentials.com. And we have a ton of information there in the blog site. We also have a ton of information at the Dr. Wong's Essentials YouTube site and the Dr. Wong's Essentials site on BitChute, and the Dr. Wongisms, where some of my articles are, about half of them, not all of them. That site got taken down as well, and we had to rebuild that one. But just look for Dr. William Wong, ND, PhD, and you'll find a good bit of my stuff.
Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Go out, do some shopping, do some heavy drinking, eat a lot of sugar, keep the Allopaths busy. They have college tuition to pay for too. So,
and their medical bills to pay for.
All right, we'll see you next year. God bless you all. Have a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and ciao.
Ciao.
Be well. God bless, folks.
Stay well.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ron's finished for today. I hope you got some good wisdom for what the man had to say.